Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Yeah, great. So first of all, thanks for being here, despite the big party that was here yesterday. So congrats for making it into the morning. So do's and don'ts on Web3 rewards. So the first question, why do I care? Why am I here talking about this? Well, the reason why is that in 2018, me and Dave had a crazy idea to create an augmented reality metaverse. So the vision was to augment the physical world with AR. And I can show you a small sample of this that we just filmed today outside here. Here you can see some avatars from Sandbox, so bringing also interoperability to the metaverse that are anchored in that location. So today, if you go outside here with your phone, you will be able to experience this kind of experience. And, you know, after we started, we understood that in order to achieve this, our crazy idea that we had at the beginning had another implication, that actually to achieve this, we need to map the world. Why is that? Because if you want to have an experience like the one that you saw, that is anchored to reality, the GPS is not enough. So you need to go in the location, map it, so that the mobile phone that will stream this experience will understand where the things are. And so far, the way the system works is that basically you buy a space in actually the physical world, so we break down the world in hexagons of 300 square meters, and those are spatial domains for us. So think about the web. In the web, you buy a web domain, you publish whatever you want on that page. In our case, you buy geographic coordinates. For example, we bought the geographic coordinates outside here to publish the content that you saw. So far, we sold 870,000 of these NFTs, of these spatial domains. The problem now is that we need to map those. So we need to find a system to send people in those locations and map it. So luckily enough, they don't need to go in the whole world, because this map that you see of locations that people bought is also a wisdom of the crowds on what are the good locations in the world. For example, this is the map of London, and these hexagons that you see where there is the red color are the places here where people bought more, where people paid more for that. So this is like a collective intelligence on what are the good locations. So the idea is to send people to these locations and find a good way to incentivize them to do this kind of job. And the result of the mapping is of this kind. So people go on the location, 5 minutes, they take pictures of the location, and they generate two things: a point cloud, like the one that you see on the left, and then on the right, there's the digital twin of the location. This is obtained through a technology that is called NERF. So we both have precise localization, but we also have a digital twin of that location. And this is another example of what we can do. So basically, you can fly inside these environments. And what we're building now is basically a system to do this in real time, because this is just a video. But the cool thing is that you can have, on one side, AR, on the other side, you can have a VR experience of that location. So you merge the two experiences. Yeah, and of course, in order to do that, we are gonna need to find a way to incentivize people. Luckily enough, we had quite a few experience in that. So in the last 3 years, we did incentivize many people to do things. So we sent people to 1.6 million locations for a treasure hunt, similar to Pokemon Go. And we had 27 partners with that, because we have NFT projects that want to gamify their assets and build a treasure hunt with our platform. We sent people already to map 8,000 locations in the last 2 months. And finally, we distribute quite a lot of tokens, 2.5 million tokens, depending on the price of the day, but this is quite a few million of dollars that we basically distributed. Yes, and finally, we created also contests for creators, 8 of those. So during this experience, we had both successes and I would say also some failures, of course. And so what I want to talk about today, let's try to reflect with you what was the mistakes and what can we do better. So just to give a context, I think all of you is quite familiar with this slide. But of course, the idea is that in Web 1, we just can read. Now, with Web 2, people can create content, but that they don't own it. With Web 3, finally, we can own content. We can own digital assets. And this has a quite interesting implication. Not only the fact that you can own stuff, but you can actually create a new business model, new incentivization models. So if we think about the business model in Web 2, typical You have the FANG guys. Unfortunately, it's not FANG anymore because the guys from Facebook renaming Meta. But yeah, the idea anyway is that they farm attention of people, and the company need to pass through them. So the company will give to these guys value in exchange for the attention of the client. So thanks to the fact that we have some value that we can distribute directly to the people, actually we can basically break this kind of concept. So we can directly incentivize the people without passing through the FANG guys. And again, in this case also, the final target of this incentivization is not even a client anymore. It can be, like we call it, a community member. Why is that? Because basically it becomes a kind of shareholder. Let's not tell this to Gary Gensler, of course, but I mean, this is a kind of the concept. So far so good, and this is not just theory, because we have quite a few examples of this. I don't know if you was degen enough like me to be part of Uniswap, but you know, if you was with Uniswap early in the day, they distributed a lot of value to the early adopters. 20,500 wallets, they sent away more than 750 million, depending on the exchange value of the date. So this happened with the early adopters of a DeFi platform, a Web3 platform. This never happened with a FANG. I mean, I never received anything, I don't know about you, from Facebook or Gmail, just for being an early adopter of that. So this thing happens, and people knows about that. So, I mean, what could possibly go wrong? I mean, you're distributing value to people, and so everybody will be happy, right? So, not really. I mean, because things get a little bit more complicated. When you give away value, people will think about clever ways on how to extract this value, and also you will need to be very careful on how you distribute this. And this breaks down on three main questions. So first of all, will people try to cheat? The second, are you credibly neutral? And then, who are you incentivizing? Are you sure that you are incentivizing the people you want to incentivize? So, will people try to cheat? And the answer is yes, and a lot more than you expect. So this is an example from Pokemon Go. But the point is that with Web2, there's really no value to extract. Yes, they can give you some discounts or whatever, but it's not real value that you can use. So the incentive is lower. And secondly, you're locked in the platform where you get the incentive. While if you distribute tokens, people will really have some fungible value in their hands. So there is an incentive to misbehave. So it's not that people in Web3 is worse than people in Web2. It's just that they have another kind of incentive, a stronger incentive to behave or misbehave. And then there is a more subtle reason why we see a lot of cheating in Web3. Because also there is like, you know, how many of you maybe remember about the DAO-hack? The DAO-hack, an hacker stole 150 million from this DAO that was supposed to actually invest in startups. And basically it was 14% of Ethereum supply. It was huge back then. Now this number doesn't look so big, but back then it was like that. And there was an argument, was this right or wrong? Because the code of that contract actually allows for this toll. So is it stealing if it's enabled by a smart contract? So I don't want to make all the story here because it could be another presentation. But as you know, there was, a fork. And the fork, the Ethereum Classic fork supported by Charles Hoskinson, that was one of the founders of Ethereum, has a credibility in the space. So people that will cheat in some way, we also think that that is not really stealing. And that is, if it's enabled by your platform, is not wrong. So there are many incentives to misbehave. This is the message that I want to give here. And of course, so whenever you distribute anything of value, you need to think on the fact that people will try to cheat you in many different ways. Like, for example, before I was telling you that we send people to 1.6 million locations, but if you look at our databases, we have 2.5 million locations visited. And the problem with that is that most of them was cheating. So we had to work like crazy to find a system to actually try to avoid this. And this also goes to the second question, are you credibly neutral? So if you allow cheating, people will see that, and they will not like it because they think that the system is not fair. And so they will not want to participate. So I told you that we did this competition with creators. So we did 8 competitions where we distribute tokens to the best creators. So at the beginning, we went to the full-blown decentralized idea. Let's distribute token with quadratic funding. And I'm just a big fan of Italic, so I was trying to implement this. So we did that, and people cheated a lot. So basically, this scary formula is just saying that your voting power is the square root of the amount of tokens that you have, so that whales will not really skew the voting system. The problem is that since you don't have an identity in the blockchain, people find ways to overcome this, creating many, many identities. So then we try to introduce KYC, but then it's not decentralized anymore. So, I mean, trying to be like very pure in the crypto way can lead you to many mistakes. So at the end of the day, we find out that the best solution for doing this kind of distribution of tokens was actually a third-party voting jury. So taking third-party, many voting parties and letting them vote. And that was just the easiest idea. But you know, sometimes in crypto, we try to overcomplicate things. And by the way, in the case that you create, I mean, a competition like that, you also will have the community from the voters. And so that is definitely the best way. Still, there are some ways that you can still use the blockchain to distribute public goods. So, for example, random extractions. This is something that works very good. So if you have an amount of people that can participate to some kind of events, you can have a random extraction that is provably random. So in this case, yes, blockchains make sense, but not always. So we should not overdo in trying to decentralize the distribution of rewards. And finally, our great generation friend here said, show me the incentives and I will show you the result. Again, we really need to think hard on who are the people that we are trying to onboard in our community. Because if we just distribute value, the point is that, I mean, this is the Maslow hierarchy pyramid. Much more probably will incentivize people that are just there for the base of this pyramid. While we want the top of this pyramid, we want people that really share the values with us and is part of our community. But when we just distribute value, most probably we'll just take people that will take the value and run away. So again, Web3, the fact that we can own tokens is very powerful. We can do many, many things with those, but it's not a silver bullet. So we need to remember that if we want to build a community, the reward part, the fact that we just distribute tokens, is just a small part of what we need to do. And that's it. Thank you for your attention.